macaroni and cheese, apple pie, southern fried chicken, barbecue, and hamburgers and cheeseburgers. These are the top 5 American foods. But who are the top 5 rookie running backs? Producer, hit that button. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Forecast right here with Grindberg and bigz. I am bigz. He is Grindberg. Schultzy is doing the thing with the buttons. And we are your weekly stop for fantasy analysis, shenanigans, and whatnot. How are you guys doing?
And whatnot. I'm doing good, man. We're 1 week away from the biggest week of the offseason, and that is the NFL draft. And I am super pumped up. I'm ready to talk running backs. Schultzy, how are you doing, my man?
I'm very good. Excited to talk these running backs. This is a nice top 5 we got, but I want to say I just realized we are all wearing dark gray or black, and we look very similar today.
Navy blue, baby.
Navy blue in the hood. Well, we're ready to go. I think navy blue is kind of where we start here, gentlemen, when we talk about the running backs and Jeremiah Love coming from Notre Dame. I think is everybody consensus top running back of this class. Why don't you pull up our top 5s here there, Schultzy, and we'll kind of break it down here. If you look at our board, very similar all throughout here. I don't think anybody is out of order, really. There's not a fluctuation here. Last week, we had a wide receiver in the top 5 or 6 that, floated in and out. And this week, it looks pretty solid. So maybe we start with bigz and talk about his top 5 and see how it shakes out. And maybe he can spotlight why he's got one guy quite a bit ahead of me and Schultzy, who seem to have identical top 5s.
Well, I think it's very mix and match top 5. The top 5 is the top 5. You aren't getting guys outside this 5 who are sneaking in as far as analysis is concerned. Somehow Jadarian Price and Emmett Johnson kind of sit right there at 3 and 5 respectively. Jeremiah Love is, of course, far and away the leader of this class. And then there's some quibble between me and you two, between where Jonah Coleman and Mike Washington Jr. sit. Jonah Coleman is going to be my spotlight for the day. There's Jeremiah Love he checks every box, analysis and profile wise. Emmett Johnson checks every box profile wise. Mike Washington Jr. checks every box analytically. The difference for me with Coleman is that he hits both analytically with his profile and the kinds of things that he can do on the field. He is 5'8", 220 pounds, so he's got that frame that he's a little bit bigger than Ashton Genty in terms of weight, but he's still that small stature. Think thick Bucky Irving, I think, is a pretty fun comp for him. He's got a 3-down skill set. He's not the fastest guy, but he has wiggle and burst. He breaks tackles, and he's a red zone threat, and he can be that guy between the tackles. He's very good as a pass catcher. He rips through tackles. He creates yards on his own. I think just all around, he does everything that you want a bell cow running back to do. And I'm super excited to see his journey into the NFL and playing on Sundays, because I've enjoyed watching him at Washington.
I really like Jonah Coleman too. They're bigz. I think I just have them a little bit below my guys, only because, I think Emmett and Mike, they have just a little bit more explosiveness, and that's what I'm looking for right now. I think that Jonah Coleman's probably going to have the safest floor out of these guys, and he probably will steam up after the draft when I see his landing spot, and it's probably going to go to a better, draft capital that maybe than an Emmett Johnson. Mike Washington is one that I'm really interested about, and Jadarian Price rounding out your top five. They're bigs. I see it. So what are your big red flags here on Mike Washington, seeing how you've got him a little bit lower than we do, coming from, you're an Arkansas boy, woo pig, suey, like you're a guy. So you obviously know them pretty good. So tell us a little bit about why you've got him faded a bit here. Well, not faded really. He's in your top five, but, a little bit below like Emmett Johnson, if you will.
Well, the thing with Washington is his rise, like his career path, is not quite as explosive onto the scene as Jonah Coleman's was, and his draft age is like that makes a big difference. Now we know that draft capital doesn't matter as much with running backs as it does with wide receivers, so I'm not afraid if Coleman slips a little bit as long as he lands in the right situation. Emmett Johnson, for me, sliding in behind Jonah Coleman, his combine performance was a little bit disappointing. That's one of the reasons he doesn't jump up to that top spot. But I think that 2, 3, 4 is fairly interchangeable. All three of those guys are big. They're strong, they break tackles, and they have acuity in the passing game. So I think it's just a matter of player preference, and there are fewer red flags for me with Jonah Coleman than the other two guys.
Love it, man. Yeah, he's kind of like my I give him a Doug Martin comp here because of his kind of like bowling ball style running. He can actually catch passes out of the backfield too, so he adds that aspect. Look at his total yards. Yeah, I mean, he's going to have the safest floor, and I think that, once he gets there, I think he should rise up my board a little bit here. But we shall see. Now, let's maybe get into my guys here there, Schultzy. Let's bring up my board here, and looks a little bit different than yours, bigz. But my spotlight here, I'm going to talk a little bit about Emmett Johnson and why I have him ranked so high. I got Mike Washington at number 2, and I'm going to let Schultzy talk a little bit more about Mike Washington because he's got him right at 2 as well. So I want to get his intake on why he's got Washington similarly to where I see him, because I think we're on the same page here with what we see with Washington and potentially what a team may see in him as well. But for me, a guy always been there. He was actually my RB2 before the combine, and that's Emmett Johnson. And it gives me, a lot of these Bucky Irving vibes, and he is my undisputed spotlight tonight because at number 3 in this class, he profiles as the ultimate 3-down workhorse with elite receiving chops, proven volume dominance, and chain moving efficiency that screams immediate PPR and best ball targets. Yes, I know he's only 5'10", but he does, he's over 200 pounds, 202. He may not have the highest testing numbers. We saw that at the combine, but his football intelligence is, that vision, the short area quickness, and the contact balance is more than will make up for what we've seen at the combine. But we did see something really good from him at the combine is he's a competitor. He competes. He's a competitor at heart, he was the only one to do the 3-cone there. And it was impressive that, he did it. Jeremiah Love, he brings the big playability, the juice, the raw power, the yak, but this is a guy that in a good landing spot. I'm not expecting him to have a bell cow role. I think he's going to be a great compliment, but I'm pounding the table, for him. I can't get over, my Bucky Irving slip a couple of years ago where I was really high on him. Schultzy remembers that before the combine, and then I faded after, and Schultzy is like, you shouldn't have done that. And then, Schultzy was right there. So, this is a very much like that situation. 251 carries, 1,400 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. It's just on the ground, plus 68 missed tackles forced as a runner, added 46 receptions, 370 yards, and 3 touchdowns on 54 targets. That is elite receptions in the college era here. So I'm looking at Emmett Johnson as a guy that could really turn some heads in the right landing spot with some good draft capital. And yeah, he may slip a little bit here, but I think a guy that could really come in and do some damage here. So I'm a big fan of Emmett Johnson. All right. Schultzy, got anything to add to that?
No, because it's my turn to talk.
All right. Well, why don't you break down your board then?
All right, let's do it. I mean, we got Jeremiah Love, and that's the no-brainer. We don't need to say anything else there. I'll come back here to Mike Washington as my number 2. You just hit Emmett Johnson. I love everything you said. Biggs hit Jonah Coleman, and I have these guys neck and neck. I've kind of gone back and forth on them as like who's 3, who's 4. Right now, the pass catching upside and just the volume we've seen out of Emmett Johnson is kind of giving me the nod there. But I love Jonah Coleman's game, and he's just I say this about so many players in this class. Jonah Coleman is just a really good football player, man, and that's going to translate. He's going to be really good. And Jadarian Price, I get people ranking him higher, but like the lack of volume out of him is the big question mark. There are some good metrics here. He's got some home run ability, and there's a ton of stuff out of Price's game you love. All of the dudes above him who have done it with a lot more work. So I don't know, man. Biggs kind of mentioned this early. The top 5 is set. Number 1 is set. How you rank 2 through 5 is up to you, and I don't have any problem with anybody's rankings 2 through 5. Like these guys are all very close. It's just personal preference here. But for me, I'm going to talk about Mike Washington. And this is a dude who measured out at 6'1", 223 at the combine. And at the combine, absolutely destroyed the combine. On the RAS scale, he got a perfect 10. This ranked him number 1 out of 2,115 running backs from 1987 to today. That's pretty good. Now, he didn't do 3-cone or shuttle. So let's take a grain of salt with the perfect 10 rating. However, 4.33 40-yard dash, 39-inch vert, 10-foot, 9-inch broad. Explosiveness off the charts. I love this dude's game. Very powerful. Just the size and speed we get out of him. I mean, this guy just ran a 4.33 at 223 pounds. You've got a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people talk about they see some like DeMarco Murray out of him, which I can get on board a little bit with. But the guy who I've seen, which I mean, people I've seen a little bit of pushback about, but like, you know, I've seen some Fred Taylor out of Mike Washington, and I stand by that. It's he's such an upright runner. He can the lateral agility is so smooth. He just glides around the field, and then the explosiveness out of those cuts. His game reminds me a lot of Fred Taylor. He's got enough receiving chops that like he can do it. He's not like that's not the focal point of his game, and that wasn't the focal point of Taylor's game. But Fred Taylor sure could do damage through the air as well. We saw 28 catches last year out of Mike Washington, and we always say if you hit 20 in a season, that in college, that kind of shows you've got what it takes to do this at the NFL level. I love that we've seen upward movement out of him. He started at Buffalo in the MAC, transferred to New Mexico State, Conference USA. From there, transferred up to Arkansas to the SEC, and all he's done is gotten better. He ran for 1,000 yards, but only on 167 carries, 6.4 average. He went out to the Senior Bowl, stepped up, looked great, went out to the Combine, killed it. All Mike Washington has done in his career is shown up and shown he's really good. He's gotten better at every step of his career, and every step of his career has brought on more competition, harder competition, and he's gotten better and improved. My biggest knock here is that he's already 24 years old, so there you go. There's your big knock on him, but that's not going to scare an NFL team like too much, man. We just saw RJ Harvey go last year at pretty much the same age. And I think Mike Washington's a better prospect than RJ Harvey. I love Mike Washington, man. He's a clear-cut number 2 for me. I don't know. I've seen him down to all the way running back 5, and like I said, that's totally fine. Personal preference on this, but for me, he is RB2, and I am very confident in that.
Love it.
That's all fair and good. The thing about draft age is when the draft happens and somebody is on a team, their draft age no longer matters. But in this historical modeling, draft age is a significant contributor. Draft age and year of breakout are significant contributors to the possibility of somebody finding success in fantasy. And because it took 5 years, well, really 4 years for Washington to actually have a breakout season, and he was a 5-year guy in college, those two things are what make me hesitate. Talent is there. Athleticism is absolutely there. It's just in the modeling, he is kind of behind the 8 ball coming into his NFL career. That's the only thing that gives me pause.
Love it.
Very
Love these
fair.
breakdown guys. Great breakdowns. Our top 5s are pretty solidified here. We're all in the same range here. I just think Schultzy's got a little bit better of a top 5 than everybody else. So we're going to go with his.
Boom, nailed it.
Yeah.
Since Schultzy agrees with me, I'm going to say his is the better.
All right, folks, let's get into our spotlights. We're going to talk about some running backs that are kind of flying under the radar here that may pop up after the draft. So these are our pre-draft sleeper spotlights, our rising stars, if you will. And we're going to get bigz to start us off because he's been talking about this guy religiously on the pulse as much as he can. And, I think he may have given him the Lan Larison Award for this year. So
No, that was Bryce Lance.
my homeboy Bryce Lance.
But I am going to bring up Lan Larison again.
Let's do it. Okay, let's not leave our viewers in suspense. Let's talk about bigz' spotlight here, folks. Let's do it.
Well, when we're trying to uncover potential breakouts in fantasy, one of the things that we want to look for is a 3-down profile, somebody who can run between the tackles and can catch the ball consistently and be a participant in the passing game. And I'm going to bring up Lan Larison because of a couple of parallels. Lan Larison had been hurt last year. He tore his ankle in the FCS playoffs, had surgery, and didn't get to participate in the Senior Bowl or the Combine. So it was 6 weeks after his surgery that he had his pro day at UC Davis. And he absolutely shined. A lot of his metrics in the drills would have been placing him ahead of guys that went really high in the draft and like second in some categories of all the guys that participated. And we knew that Larison had that receiving game profile. He gets picked up as a UDFA by the New England Patriots. He went undrafted, even though his talent level was probably 4th round. Goes undrafted, but the New England Patriots gave him the biggest UDFA contract that they'd ever given to anybody. He's absolutely a Mike Vrabel prototype running back. He starts getting some run in the preseason. In his first preseason game, there was a play where he absolutely trucked a linebacker, and he broke his foot on that play. Stayed in the game, and then trucked another linebacker to get over the end zone for his first professional touchdown. Then he went on the IL and lost the season. Okay, so what we know about Jaydn Ott is that he had a second-year breakout, a sophomore breakout. That's absolutely insane to come into your sophomore year in a big-time conference, have 1,315 yards rushing, and throw another 270 yards another 25 catches on top of that. He had 46 receptions in his freshman season. Junior year, he gets hurt. We know with running backs, once you get hurt, it usually takes about a year before you start seeing the numbers happen again. He enters the transfer portal to Oklahoma, which was a huge mistake because he was he wasn't the big man on campus there. If he had stayed at California, he would have been the incumbent RB1 and most likely been able to have a pretty big year. But he went to Oklahoma, got shoved down the depth chart, and was asked to do more to show that he deserved to be on the field than A, he was willing to do, B, he was prepared to do physically, and C, it just was not a good fit. It wasn't a good situation. It was a big step back. As such, he wasn't invited to the combine. Now, he did participate in the Senior Bowl and blew the minds off of everybody that watched him at the Senior Bowl. He then went to the Cal Pro Day and was very, very good in his drills and everything. He comes in at 5'11", 198 pounds, so he's a little bit small, but he had a 4.49 40, a 1.53 10-yard split, a 4.24 shuttle, a 7.06 three-cone, a 10-foot, 11-inch broad jump, a 40-inch vertical, and he benched 16 times. So the numbers are there, the talent is there, the breakout is there. He would have come out as a junior if he hadn't gotten hurt. So the age of draft is not great. But imagine a scenario in which Jaydn Ott gets drafted in the 6th or 7th round or gets put on the priority UDFA list, gets a good contract as an undrafted free agent in a team that possibly will give him an opportunity. And say Lan Larison stays healthy all last preseason and Travion Henderson is the rookie that gets hurt. Or Ramondre Stevenson gets hurt and somebody needs to be shoved into that role. Well, Lan Larison was there to take it. And if Jaydn Ott finds himself in the right situation in 2026, he will be in a situation where his talent will overcome his draft position and all that stuff. Now, we are in April. Redraft drafts really don't start popping off until August. In August, we will have a very good idea of what Jaydn Ott was able to do in rookie camp, in training camp, and in some preseason games before your fantasy draft. So keep an eye on him and be prepared to pull the trigger in late rounds if Jaydn Ott has an opportunity that's presented himself, because talent-wise, he's there.
Biggs, I love that you got me on some Jaydn Ott, and I mean, I saw what Lan Larison did in the preseason last year, and just what would have been. And this Jaydn Ott situation, I've been taking flyers. I've done 4 dynasty startups right now, and at this stage, I've gotten them in 3 of them because of you, and I was really shocked to get somebody pick them ahead of me. 2 rounds ahead of where I saw him. So somebody else is probably just as high on Jaydn Ott as you. So Biggs, you're onto something here. And
send me the name of that person just in case I find myself in a draft.
I certainly will find them because I'll let you know. I'll find them on Sleeper and link them up.
Was Biggs.
It was actually, it's his alias. Exactly. All right, folks, let's get into my, pre-draft sleeper running back. All right, Schultzy, let's run it. So I'm going to talk about Claiborne. Schultzy's talked about him a little bit on the Pulse throughout this offseason, and he's my flag plant sleeper because he's flying under the radar outside of the consensus top 5 that we talked about, and outside of many's top 10 rookie running back boards, despite his efficiency per touch production, tackle breaking ability, and that heavy workload. And, he in a really tough Wake Forest scheme that screams future fantasy contributor with the right draft capital. He's small, though, 5'10", about 190 in size. It's undeniably a huge red flag for some teams who kind of want that early down bell cow, but everything I see on tape tells me a different story. The kid is a legitimate upside as high-end complementary back who can thrive in a committee or even grow into a featured role, if, the touches aren't super heavy up the middle. He brings a sudden cut back ability, the vision to find those creases, and I'm ready for him to, get some decent draft capital. He's got that proven efficiency, 179 carries for 900 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns, 37 missed tackles forced, and 3 yards after contact. He's got 23 explosive run plays of plus 10 yards and some pretty solid receiving involvement as well. 28 catches on 38 targets last year. So pretty good numbers for a college running back here. He may sit outside my top 5 right now, but my words, mark them right now. This is my flag plant. He won't stay hidden long after the draft. His size is obviously the biggest red flag that's keeping him undervalued. Yet every time I watch the tape, I come away more convinced he has real upside in a complementary role. So yeah, let's go. Damon Claiborne. Schultzy, you got anything to add to him? Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so, man. I like him. He's got great vision, patience. The home run hitting's there. I really liked him on Claiborne. I think in the modern NFL, where we're talking about, like, most backfields are running 2 guys for the most part, like key profiles as a running back 2 in an offense. But in the right offense, like, that's perfectly fine. That's going to be great, and that's okay. So I think that's where he profiles in the NFL, but in the right offense, that's going to be more than fine.
I'm higher on Claiborne than most people are. Like him a lot. We want to see that 20 reception threshold. He hit it twice, so that's fantastic. I have high hopes for him.
Love it. All right.
But can we talk about the Macklin Celebrini assist to Chernyshov to equalize against Winnipeg in the last game of the NHL season? If Winnipeg wins this game, then both teams are tied in points. How would that be? My team and your team tied at 84 points. That would be crazy, right?
Well, just think of how crazy it'd be if next year they're battling out for the Western Conference title because they're young up-and-coming teams that have a lot of potential, and we're just a bad, bounce here off. So yeah, I think things will be different.
I smell dueling vacations for the Western Conference playoff series.
Let's do it. Oh my goodness. Could you imagine a 7-part series? We're floating back and forth. Bigz, yeah. Let's make it happen.
The craziest 2 weeks San Jose and Winnipeg will ever see.
And you know what? It would be live streamed the whole way through. We're going to make it happen next year, Bigz. Oh my goodness. I just had some fun. All right, okay, let's get into Schultzy's spotlight before I get too excited. Let's do it.
Can't stop, won't stop. Robert Henry. He kind of hit the combine. Was a little underwhelming, and he had some steam ahead of that, and the people for the most part backed off of him, and whatever, fine, I don't care. I get it, but for me, what I've seen on film out of a small school guy is more than enough to take the shots at the price he's gonna cost. He's a little bit of a smaller guy at 5'9", but the frame's a little better here at 205. Looking right here at his last season at UTSA, he rushed for 1,000 yards, 6.9 yards per carry and 9 touchdowns. Very efficient. 18 receptions this season, 21 the year prior, and 19 the year before that. So he averages right around that 20 mark. So you love to see that. But I think what he's shown in the receiving game shows he can do it more than the number of receptions itself. Looking at some of the metrics, he averages 4.22 yards after contact per attempt, and the only guy in this class who's better is Jeremiah Love. And missed tackles forced per attempt, he is at 0.22. And among the guys in this class, that's like a second tier number. But those are both of those stats I think are very good indicators for running backs. I mean, yak per attempt, like what are you creating for yourself when something's not there? Missed tackles force is kind of the same thing. Um, it's just like these guys are out there making stuff happen for themselves. And Robert Henry, very good in both metrics. He's very explosive, decisive, has great instincts with the ball. The missed tackles for stuff, man, it shows on film. He turns negative runs into 0 to 3 yard gains all the time. Now that's not going to do anything huge for fantasy, but it's going to save a little couple points here and there. But what it is it's really impressive to NFL teams. He's also really good just like in the backfield when he get navigating the backfield right when he gets the handoff. The vision is very good on him, and like I said, the instincts. The long speed is fine. He hit 21.7 miles per hour last year. I forgot which game it was, but on the GPS, he clocked 21.7 miles per hour. And then finally, for me, I love that he showed up in the biggest game of his career, and he went for 16, 177, and 2 touchdowns against Texas A&M. It was a monster game. The tape is super impressive on it. A couple of really big home run runs that he absolutely juked a guy out of his shoes in the backfield, got to the second level, made another guy miss right there one-on-one, and was off to the races. This is a playoff SEC defense that he did this to. Little guy from UTSA here. So, like I said, I love Robert Henry. I'm not here to tell you he's about to become, some instant fantasy superstar. But I think the traits, the talent, the film are all way higher, way more valuable to me than what his draft price is going to be, no matter the format. So I'm going to be very, very, very heavy on Robert Henry.
Heavy on Henry.
21.7 miles per hour is moving. That's like more than some speed limits.
He's moving on up. I love it. All right, Biggs. We got a busy week ahead of us here at FSAN. And you want to get us back up all on the screen here, Schultzy, to end the show. We had our rookie guide drop a couple of weeks ago. The relaunch will be right after the draft, and then we're doing some live stuff heading into the draft. Every day we're gonna have some live streaming happening here on FSAN, and Biggs is going to be headlining the Saturday show. I'll be headlining the Friday show. We got the Operation Domination boys doing the Thursday night, and a lot of stuff headed down that route here. So be sure to check us all out. Biggs, what else have we got going on?
It's the most wonderful time in Dynasty. So Dynasty Pulse is going to drop tomorrow. Go ahead and make sure you watch that. Even if you don't play Dynasty Fantasy Football, there's still going to be some important information that our special guest will be getting across to you guys, and us analysts and hosts will be presenting valuable information that you'll be able to use in redraft. If you have never played Dynasty before, reach out. Hit us in the comments and say, I want to play Dynasty. And we'll put together some different skill level leagues on Sleeper for you guys to hone your skills and play the best fantasy football there is. Other than that, go to fantasysportsadvice.com, get the rookie guide. That's going to be very helpful for you towards the end of the summer. And we hope you win.
Yeah, folks, peace out. We'll see you next time.
We've all been there. Watching a can't-miss rookie bust while your rival scoops up the next superstar on waivers. The 2026 class is deep, talented, and full of landmines. Do you know who's actually worth the 101? Stop guessing, start scouting. The Fantasy Sports Advice Network 2026 Rookie Prospect Guide is your blueprint for a dynasty. The experts from the Fantasy Forecast, the Devi Dojo, the Dynasty Pulse have logged the hours so you don't have to. From advanced analytical models to raw film grading, we give you the data that translates to Sunday points. Don't just participate in your draft. Dominate it. Download the 2026 guide at fsan.com today. Your championship starts here.